Along the western edges of Europe, where land meets the restless Atlantic, Ireland's coastline tells a story of beauty, resilience and fragility. Beneath the waves lie ecosystems that hold extraordinary power, ecosystems that are now at risk. This is a story of seagrass, a story of science, community, and a growing movement to protect and restore the natural ecosystems that help to protect us. Seagrass meadows are among the Earth's key ecosystems. They capture carbon faster than forests on land. They shelter juvenile fish and many other small marine organisms. They help to stabilize coastlines, and they support entire marine communities. And yet, they remain almost invisible, overlooked, unstudied until very recently, and often unprotected. Despite their importance, seagrass meadows are at risk of disappearing. Pollution, coastal development, warming seas, and the pressures of modern life are pushing these blue forests to the brink. When waste enters our seas, whether through inadequate wastewater treatment systems or careless habits, the damage is felt far beyond the shoreline. Circular economy principles remind us nothing should be wasted. Everything has value, but our oceans are the final destination for a linear economy that extracts, uses, and then discards. Across Ireland, researchers, communities, and environmental groups are beginning to look beneath the surface, literally, to understand how we can protect and restore these vital ecosystems. At the Martin Ryan Institute in Galway, scientists are uncovering what makes seagrass so unique and why its restoration could be a key nature-based solution for a changing climate. Here, the team studies everything from seagrass genetics to the microfauna living on their blades or within the seagrass meadows. They explore how carbon is stored in the seabed beneath the seagrass, how meadows recover after damage, and what threatens their survival. This research is part of the wider Climarest project, a European effort aimed at restoring marine ecosystems and strengthening coastal resilience.
Seagrasses are marine plants. They are very important for ecosystem services and for ecosystem function. In terms of ecosystem services, they provide a nursery ground for many organisms, including fish. They stabilize sediments, which is very good in terms of coastal erosion. And in particular, they're very good at nutrient cycling, particularly at sequestering carbon.
Their findings help shape conservation strategies, not just for Ireland, but for coastal communities across the world. Along tidal flats and in sheltered bays, researchers map the remaining seagrass meadows and help to restore them, documenting their condition, the pressures they face, and planting seagrass seeds. Their work reveals a story that is both hopeful and urgent. Seagrass can recover if we give it a chance.
In the past, seagrasses were very abundant in Irish estuaries and in the Irish coastal environment. However, I suppose increasing population has led to an increasing demand for food, and also globally has resulted in the intensification of agriculture. And the intensification of agriculture has resulted in increased use of synthetic fertilizers, which have obviously resulted also in the increased runoff of nutrients into our bays and estuaries. Also, the expanding population living along the coastline. In Ireland, most of our towns and cities, most of our major towns and cities are located for obvious reasons along the coastline. And we have, in some instances, we have inadequate wastewater treatment facilities, which have resulted in the discharges of nutrients into our coastal bays and estuaries, which have impacted on our seagrass communities.
We believe that some of the most pressing issues of our times, climate change, biodiversity loss, sustainable food and energy issues, require more than technical solutions. They require courage, they require community, and they require collaboration. We work very closely with partners from all across our region, all across the country, and all across the globe to tackle these pressing issues. Our local partners, our city and county councils, the Údarás na Gaeltachta as our regional partner, and the coastal communities in which we work with are incredibly important to the work that we do.
Liam, we're here in your office and I'm amazed. I see so many papers on contaminants in the marine environment, particularly where you've been using zoster and other creatures as indicators of those contaminants. And that's a very important area with being that pollution of the marine environment is such a serious issue. Is this one of your big areas of research?
Yes, for a number of years I've been working on both organic and inorganic contaminants in the aquatic environment, in the terrestrial environment as well, looking at things like metals, pesticides, herbicides, PFAS, a whole range, a whole suite of contaminants. And in many cases we have used organisms as part of the studies, because ultimately when you're looking at environmental pollution, you're assessing the impact on life itself, including us as the predators at the top of the food chain. So you can measure contaminants in water or in sediments, but if we look at the concentrations of contaminants in biota, we begin to see what's bioavailable, what's potentially harmful. So we have used seaweeds, seagrasses, bivalves, even more recently we've worked on some smoothhounds, and we have looked, and even turtles, we have looked at levels of contaminants in these to give us an idea of environmental quality or status.
That's very important. I remember many years ago doing a study of mussels in the Shannon estuary. We were using them as indicator organisms, again exactly as you've done. But are plants or animals better? Because mussels filter feed.
Yes, different organisms feed on different environmental compartments. So you'll have your filter feeders like the mussels, you'll have your bottom dwelling deposit feeders, and then in the case of the seaweeds, they take the material out of the water column that's in the dissolved phase, the dissolved aqueous phase. So they give a representation of what's actually in the water column.
That's a very important distinction, Liam. Thank you. Well, Johan, you know that worldwide, huge and increasing quantities of pesticides and herbicides of many types are widely used, including in Ireland. And one of the particular types of pesticides we're concerned with are weed killers, and they kill living plants. Now, they must be running off into the seas and streams and rivers and getting to the coastline. Is there any evidence, one way or the other, that these heavily used herbicides could be affecting seagrass meadows?
That's a nice question, Jack. Indeed, yes. It has come out some evidence of that these herbicides affect the seagrass, reducing their capacity to make photosynthesis. So, of course, if they cannot make photosynthesis, they cannot live. And this also gets accumulated in estuaries where seagrass lives, so higher amounts of herbicides will affect more seagrass.
So this would be, if the evidence was there, that would be a very, very damaging effect on seagrass meadows and on the other creatures which rely on the seagrass meadows for their habitats.
Yes.
Ireland's coastal communities have always lived with the sea, relying on it for food, work, culture and identity. Today, these same communities are essential to the future of marine restoration. Protecting seagrass means protecting livelihoods, biodiversity, and the stability of the very shores we depend on. Seagrass meadows are not just carbon sinks. They are nurseries for marine life, filters for our water, and guardians of our coastline. They are part of a larger interconnected system, one that supports the health of our oceans and ultimately our own survival. At Zero Waste Alliance Ireland, our mission is rooted in circular economy principles, reducing waste, protecting resources, and rethinking how we interact with our natural world. Seagrass conservation sits at the heart of that philosophy. When ecosystems are healthy, nothing is wasted, nutrients cycle, carbon is stored, life flourishes. By restoring seagrass, we restore balance. Across the world, seagrass meadows are declining, yet global awareness is only beginning to grow.
Project is a Horizon-funded project that works across a latitudinal gradient from the Arctic to the Mediterranean basin. We do in Norway coastal erosion restoration. In Ireland, indeed, we work with seagrass. We work also collaborating with the University of Malaga, so we have several sites in Ireland and in South Spain. In North Spain, in Galicia, they do lobster restoration. In Madeira, kelp forest restoration and soboto restoration, and in France, oyster restoration.
Ireland's efforts are part of a broader movement to protect blue carbon ecosystems. What happens here connects us to a global narrative of resilience, climate action, and ecological repair. The work happening in Ireland shows what's possible when science, community, and compassion come together. Restoration takes time. It takes patience. It takes understanding, but it works. And with every square metre restored, the ocean becomes a little healthier and our climate a little more stable. Seagrass may be a quiet example, but its message is loud. It reminds us that across all of nature, the solutions are already there, if we choose to protect and restore the biodiversity we rely on. Real change happens through policy, through collective action, and through decisions that put ecosystems first. Our oceans and landscapes are changing, but with the right choices, so can we. This is Ireland's blue forest, a hidden treasure, a vital ally, a reminder that what lies beneath the surface matters more than we ever imagined. To protect our natural ecosystems is to protect our future.